Hey there, this is my Ford Fiesta ST 2015 model, and today I want to talk to you about the power mods, software and hardware that I put on this car. I'll have some information in the description if you want to know exactly what I'm talking about, if you get lost, because there's a good bit of stuff on here I'm going to talk about in the next few minutes. So check that out, and any comments or questions you have, leave them. I'll try to get to you. So let me start and say this. This car has a Puma Speed X47 hybrid turbo. Most of the hardware I have on this car is useless unless you have a turbo upgrade. So if you're looking for power, most of the stuff I'm going to talk about and show you don't really apply unless you just want more sound or more bling on your car. If you have stock turbo and you're keeping stock turbo only, you really only need 4 things to get 90% of the power out of the car. And those 4 things are an Accessport, a custom tune, a panel filter, and an upgraded intercooler. You can get all those for about $1,000 used, depending on what model, what brand you buy, all the way up to, you can spend a lot of money, but you don't need to. I got most of my stuff used here. So let me talk about those 4 mods. And then I'll talk about the other stuff I have. Again, really, you can research this. It's pretty much proven that 90% or more maybe of the power you're going to get out of this car is going to come from those 4 mods. The rest, you might get that marginal 5 or 10% extra, but for $1,000 you get 90% of the power, and then for another $2,000 or more, you're getting the other 10%. So if I was on the stock turbo, I would say only get these 4 parts. What are they? Well, the first and most important thing is your Cobb Accessport. I won't talk much about this, but you can research. But this is basically it's a computer about the size of a cell phone, and you can, it goes into your OBD2 port down here, and you just run a cable, and it has the ability to put custom ECU maps on your car. It comes with a bunch of preloaded ones from Cobb, which are actually pretty decent. You can get valet mode, where it limits the turbo to only a few PSI. You can do flat foot shifting. You can change your traction control settings. You can do launch control. There's a 1,000 little things you can do, and it's just an awesome piece. So that's about $350, $400 used. I think they're $450 new. You need that. Number 2 is you need a custom tune. That'll run you between $200 and $300. You need a custom tuner who will tune your car. I used Tune Plus. He's kind of the best well-known, probably tuned in the most Fiesta STs, and he does a super job on email. Gets really just about as much as you could get from doing it on email tune. And Tune Plus, his name's Adam, a great tuner, great guy. That's going to run you $200 to $300-ish, depending on what you get with your tune, what options you get. And then the third thing you'll need is a panel filter, which I can't show you because I have an aftermarket intake, but you'll have a panel filter on the stock intake. And then the fourth thing you need is a intercooler. I've got a Cobb intercooler. I got this used. I painted it black. I got it for about $300 if I remember correctly. Accessport installs in 5 minutes, super easy. Tune installs in 2 minutes, super easy. Panel filter installs in 2 minutes, like super easy. The only thing of those 4 things that takes any brains at all is the intercooler. And I installed it in a couple hours. You just pull off the headlights, pull off the bumper. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's pretty simple. You don't need any special tools. And intercooler on and put it all back together. Boom, you'll go from, I think these are around 180 dyno wheel power. You'll go up to about 215, 220 dyno wheel power, horsepower. That's on 93 octane gas. So that's a good mod, and you'll get torque too. These are about 220 torque, just stock dynoed. Its factory says 200, but it's closer to 220 if you do your research. You'll get around 290 to 300 foot-pounds of torque out of this car with a custom tune with just those 4 mods, which is just insane. So if you're on stock turbo, do that. Now, if you're upgrading, you've got a few other options. If you're upgrading your turbo, or if you just want to know what these mods do, I'll share just a few thoughts about each of the next few things. First of all, I want to talk about charge pipes. A lot of folks get charge pipes. You're going to spend another $200 or $300 for intercooler charge pipes. I don't have them. I'm on the stock charge pipes still. This car dynoed at 298 wheel horsepower. once I got all my hardware and my tune straightened up. And after a month or so, probably 50-60 pulls at wide open red line, the hot side charge pipe did blow off, which is common. I put a second clamp on it. That was many months ago. It's been dynoed since then, and I drive it fairly aggressively, and I've had no problems at all. So don't waste your money on charge pipes. I don't think they make a difference. The only reason you'd get them is if you were running a water meth injection and you needed a port for the meth. But other than that, I think it's a waste of money. So I'd say skip the charge pipes. I'm on the Stalkers. They haven't blown off since I put the double clamp on. So let me talk about the other mods. First of all, this does have a Wastegate Actuator, which you'll need if you do an upgraded turbo. And those are around $140 from Tune Plus. Won't say much about that. You can't see it because it's down there on the turbo. And also down there that you can't see is the my Cobb catted downpipe. So you can go catless and save a couple $100. I decided to go with a catted downpipe. The reason for that is I've had cars with catless before multiple times, and every time you roll the window down, you smell that smell, and it's not worth it. Maybe you want that. You're going to get 5 or 10 extra horsepower from a catless downpipe, but number one, it's illegal, and number two, you're destroying the environment. Number three, you're probably giving yourself and other people cancer by breathing that stuff. And it is, when I say every time you roll the window down, I mean every time. Stoplights, I remember when my catless car is holding my breath because it smelled so bad and I didn't want to breathe it. So get a catted downpipe. And here's the other deal. Unless you're going big turbo or hybrid turbo, you don't need a downpipe, in my opinion. They do make more power, but if you look at the dynos, the power they make is actually in the lower part of the RPM band. And they lose power in the upper end. Now, if you know anything about this car, you know that the place you don't have any power with stock turbo is above 5,000 RPM. So why would you put a part on there that's going to give you more torque down low, which you don't need because the car's tires are spinning already, and you're going to lose torque and power up high, which is where it's weak. So you're putting a part on the car that is actually hurting the car where it needs help and giving the car more power where it doesn't need it. So I say skip the downpipe, again, unless you're going big turbo, and you can research that. That's just my opinion. There's a lot of opinions out there, but I did some pretty conclusive research, and getting the downpipe on is also no fun. You got a heat shield in the way, but there's plenty of reviews and installs you can read about that. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is this big mouth. This is a Velossatech big mouth. You can see it in there. I painted it red. I got this purely for aesthetics. It just looks awesome. You're staying back from the car, and it just looks kind of mean with that red guy. It matches all the other aesthetic mods I've done up front, and it just looks cool. Supposedly this sucks in more air, and of course it does because it's bigger than the stock intake. Does that result in any more power? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. You're getting more air. You may have cooler air for longer. Again, I got that purely aesthetic, but others would argue that it does add power. Who knows? And then speaking of powerless additions to your car, this is a Cpe Intake. This, again, probably, when I say powerless, I mean it probably adds 5 horsepower. The filter it's a 4-inch cone filter. It's much larger than the stock intake. The diameter of this pipe is like ridiculously big. It looks cool. It's actually, this has a double intake, so if you can see down there, see that other pipe there going right down there that's blurry, that's the second intake. So it's sucking in air not only from underneath the car, but from this big mouth, which sucks into this. So it actually is a double intake. Again, undoubtedly you're getting more air, more cold air. Does that help? Probably a few horsepower, but I don't know that it's really adding much of a difference. I've also got Ngk Iridium Plugs on this car. They're $40. Oh, by the way, this intake is about $330. The Ngk plugs are about $30, actually $40. You can get those if you get a big turbo setup. They're recommended. They're also recommended for stock turbo. Is it worth it? Again, I did what my tuner said and got them. $40. You can't go wrong. And then two other things, the other two power mods I have on this car. One is the Go Fast Bits diverter valve, and you can't see that either. It's way down there in the abyss. Not too bad of an install. This piece cost 125 bucks. I just took off this tire, and then you take off some trim, you reach in there, you got a little bit of a pain, but it did it in about 30 minutes. The reason I got that was because once I did the turbo upgrade, I didn't get it at the beginning, and I noticed a low rev, what I call low rev venting noise. So whenever I was at low revs, I could hear this whistle, and it was just driving me crazy. It was really subtle, but it was there. So I got the diverter valve. It holds boost better, supposedly snaps open and shut better than the stock valve. It's a very well made piece. Put it on there, no problems at all with the whistling sound anymore at all. So you'll need that if you get a turbo upgrade, if you want to, again, hold boost better and eliminate that noise that I found. And then my last power mod that I'll mention is my Mountune exhaust. And this added no power to the car. I asked my tuner he looked at my logs before and after. However, it's cool. It looks good. I'll start the car up here and let you hear it. So this is inside the car. And just listen to this. And the Mountune exhaust is nice. It's I got it specifically because I wanted something that I could hear, but that it wasn't going to be super loud when I'm dropping my kid off at school or driving down the road. So it's the kind of exhaust, I describe it, that if you're a car person and if you're a car guy and you know cars, you hear it, you know there's been something done to it, but it doesn't sound in any way obnoxious. No drone at all, unless you're like above 80. There's a little bit of drone, but it's not bad at all. It is expensive. You want to wait for a Mountune coupon or try to find one used, which is about impossible. But Mountune exhaust was my choice. Again, probably not any performance gain. Install is super easy, super high quality, and they're expensive. But so just to review, I've got about $3,500 into power mods. That's software and hardware and tune into this car. The bottom line truth is I could have got about 90% of that power probably for about half that price. I didn't need an exhaust. I didn't need an intake. Didn't need a big mouth intake. Some of those things were not necessary. Downpipe, not necessary. But if you want to get that last 10%, and I did, I was going all the way with the car. I wanted to get everything I could safely and conservatively out of the car. So I decided to go ahead and get those other parts. But if you're not going for a larger turbo setup or a hybrid, I say just spend that minimum amount I was talking about at the beginning. Put that on the car, see how you like it, maybe add an exhaust or an intake later. Hey, that's it for this video. This is just a review of my power mods, and again, you can check out my hybrid turbo review of the X47 in my other thread, or my other video, and appreciate you watching. Enjoy, be safe.